sweet it is. Oh, so good to see you. Thank you. What a warm, warm welcome at CPAC. I am so glad you're here. We're going to have an absolutely phenomenal, successful year this November, won't we? Well, I thought you would be interested in knowing that running for President of the United States is really one series of humiliations after another. But it's also a very educational experience, and I learned 3 things when I was running for president. First of all, I learned where John Wayne was born. That's very important. And then second, I learned the day that Elvis Presley was born. These are vital issues to our republic. And third, I learned never forget the 3 things that you learn. Very important when you're running for president. Well, this fall, President Obama will be pointing to his foreign policy successes in order to make the case for his successful re-election. He'll be pointing to bin Laden. He'll be pointing to the overthrow of Gaddafi. He'll be pointing to the Arab Spring as his foreign policy success story. And while without a shadow of a doubt, the world is better off without bin Laden and without Gaddafi, these are tactical successes that don't begin to compare with the mess that Barack Obama has made of the Middle East and the strategic foreign policy blunders he's committed. Because you see, a president's foreign policy changes the course of history. Look at Jimmy Carter. His errors in Iran clearly directly led to the rise of modern-day jihad, and that changed the course of history. When Bill Clinton failed to take out bin Laden, despite knowing his whereabouts, that changed the course of history. And when Ronald Reagan initiated peace through strength and won the Cold War, that changed the course of history. And when Barack Obama chose Islamic outreach over Israel, he changed the course of history. No president since the modern state of Israel has failed to stand by our ally Israel. Only President Obama. Consider Egypt. The president spurned the president of Egypt when he took his first foreign trip to Cairo, and in an absolutely shocking move, he invited the radical Muslim Brotherhood to hear his speech when Mubarak's policy was to keep the Brotherhood at arm's length. The Muslim Brotherhood's mission is the spread of global jihad, and their leader has called for the demise not only of the United States, but also of Israel. And the Muslim Brotherhood's spiritual leader has called for the killing of United States troops both in Iraq and in Afghanistan. That's why it's unthinkable that the Muslim Brotherhood's spiritual leader is now acting today as a mediator between the United States and our enemy, the Taliban, in Afghanistan. Now, I can understand why Mubarak would not want to empower the Brotherhood in Egypt. But what I don't understand is why the President of the United States, Barack Obama, would give the Brotherhood a seat of honor at his first foreign policy speech in Cairo. During an interview a year ago with Bill O'Reilly, just before the Super Bowl, President Barack Obama said essentially, "Don't worry, the Brotherhood isn't a threat. They don't have majority support in Egypt." Then Obama failed to stand by Mubarak, and that helped fuel the revolution in Egypt. And it led to a regime that was based on Sharia law, with 72% of the seats in the lower house in Egypt now occupied by the Brotherhood and the even more radical Salafist Party. And in the last year, what's happened? It's reported that because of the persecution, over 100,000 Christians have had to flee Egypt. The Israeli embassy was overrun, And there are calls now for ending the 30-year peace treaty between Egypt and Israel. And the spread of radical Islam has not been confined to Egypt. The rise of political Islam has brought Sharia law now to Tunisia and al-Qaeda to Libya, as I warned during the presidential race earlier this year. Not exactly your Ronald Reagan foreign policy success story. Obama's miscalculations are changing history, as we are now on the verge of a nuclear Iran. And Iran is committed to both the destruction of Israel and of the United States. And they are the epicenter of global jihad. And that explains their commitment to developing nuclear weapons as the ultimate expression of imposing their will on the world. And failing to appreciate Iran's deadly nuclear goal, Obama has chosen the wrong side once again, because he's ignored the true democracy movement in Iran. That's our best hope of defeating an Iran with deadly genocidal intentions. Now, we credit our brave troops for winning the war in Iraq at a very tremendous cost. But the president recently chose intentionally to lose the peace. This past week, the administration announced once again they intend to do the same thing in Afghanistan, and they will likely lose the peace in Afghanistan. It's unthinkable. After a decade of effort to defeat global jihad, Obama, for the sake of his political reelection, has chosen to hand Iraq to the Iranians. Only Obama could snatch defeat from the jaws of victory and call it success. Before Obama was elected, Tunisia was a stable U.S. partner. No more. After the elections in Tunisia, the Islamists took over. Obama called the Islamic elections an inspiration and said that he was deeply encouraged by the progress. Before Obama was elected, the leadership in Yemen and Egypt, they're flawed, to be sure, but they were at least counted on as U.S. partners. And before Obama was elected, Israel could count on America's unwavering support. But since Obama's election, Israel has rarely enjoyed President Obama's support. And in May, he even said that Israel should retreat to her indefensible 1967 borders. Make no mistake about it. In Israel's hour of dire need, the United States must stand with Israel. In a bad case of miscast priorities, the president thinks that Israel building apartment buildings on her own land is worse than Iran getting a nuclear bomb. A week ago today, the supreme leader of Iran said that Israel is a cancer that must be cut out. And at the very same time last week, Iran launched a new satellite. And they threatened any nation that tried to stop Iran's nuclear ambitions with 10 times the violence in return. They mean business, and we need to pay attention. Obama's State Department now designates Jerusalem as an international city. And in a bizarre move, our State Department won't even acknowledge that Jerusalem belongs to Israel. Jerusalem does belong to Israel. Before Obama was elected, no one had ever heard of a United States president saying to the world that the United States is not a Judeo-Christian nation. I'm here to say we are. Before President Obama was elected, no one had ever heard a United States president say to the world that we are anything other than an exceptional nation. We are. And before President Obama was elected, no president had ever gone around apologizing to the world, and we will not. A president's foreign policy does change the history of the world, which is why Barack Obama cannot have a second term as president. We have to stand, and we have to fight for our beliefs. We have to stand, and we have to fight for our country. We have to stand, and we have to fight for our freedom, because we need to do this to honor the brave men and women who gave their last full measure of devotion for us. Because you see, they're watching us. We owe it to them. We owe it to our posterity. We owe it to our God to keep our republic free. This was purchased at such a great price. It is our obligation to stand with them and make it free. I say to you today, God bless you. God bless the United States of America, and may we remember to bless God. God bless you all, and thank you for allowing me to be here with you today.